Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deepsouth Homestead on Porch Time today. Yes, it's pouring down raining out here. The wind's blowing, raining, been doing that now for about, going on 4 or 5 days now. So we're enjoying it. It's nothing that's causing any kind of massive flooding. The garden is really loving the rain. So that's a plus. Porch Time today. I was sitting thinking about remember when. I'm always remembering when things used to be the way they were. And as I was remembering when, I thought about filling in the gap. You know, we talk a lot about our young people today and how that they're so out of touch with reality. And for a certain percentage of them, that is true. They're all about technology, mechanized stuff. There's a disconnect between them and their food system, and it's not totally their fault. As adults, part of it's our fault too, and we have to accept that responsibility. Now, as I thought about this, I was thinking about remembering when. I remembered when I was a kid. I remember my dad talking about when he was a kid. My grandfather talking about when he was a kid. And how that each generation, we filled in the cracks, or we filled in the gaps. And when I say that, I mean my grandpa talked about how pre-depression, things was pretty tough, even pre-depression. Wasn't a lot of money to go around. And then when the depression come, he was already an older man at that time and had kids of his own and having to feed those kids. And he talked about how that all the kids in the family, even though they were kids, they still had a responsibility to fill in the cracks or fill in the gaps in the family. Lots of times they would have to take on side jobs. And the thing about it, when they took on a side job, was that they didn't keep the money. They would bring the money home and give it to mom, who usually handled the money at that time. Most mothers did. And at the end of the week, mom would give them a dime or whatever to go down to the soda pop shop or maybe the theater, and they could go to a movie and get something to drink and all that for a dime. And lots of times the newspaper people would pay kids a penny per newspaper to stand on a corner and sell their newspapers. And usually it was after school, or sometimes on Sunday mornings or something they would do it. And the kids would bring that money home and they would give it to mom. And I can remember well the stories of how Grandpa said that when he got to be old enough, which was around 8 or 9 years old, he could actually could work in a dairy. And he would go down to the neighbor's house and they would help milk cows. Or my dad talking about when he was 12 years old, my grandfather fell off of a load of logs and broke his leg, and then there was no money for the family. It was during the Depression that this happened, or post-Depression, just a few years. And Dad at 12 years old had to quit school and had to go to work pulling a crosscut saw in the logging woods, because they traveled with the work, and they worked in all the logging camps as they moved around and set up these sawmills and cut timber and stuff like that. And Dad said at 12 years old, I had to pull the other end of a crosscut saw all day long. And he said if you had to cut 100 logs a day, or you didn't get paid. And even then, the pay was just 50 cents a day. And he said he would bring his money home at the end of the week and he would give it to his mama. And his mama would give him back what she wanted him to have after she bought groceries, usually, to see what was left over. And the kids back then, they filled in the gaps. And I think today, because of the Industrial Revolution, because of modernization, technology, a lot of our grandparents and our parents didn't want us kids to have to go through what they went through. So they didn't force children to do a lot of things that they themselves did. Of course, now my dad made me work, and at 12 years old, they would come by and I would stand out beside the gravel road with my little sack lunch in a paper bag, and they would pick me up and I'd get on the back of the truck and I rode through a field and I picked cucumbers all day. It wasn't just going there a few minutes and working and then you're sitting down. No, I had to work all day out there with those grown guys picking cucumbers. Now I made money. The only difference was when I come home, my dad would always say, son, you don't have to give it to the family. I'm making plenty. You just save it, and wherever you want, you buy it for you. Buy you something. And but I would always ask, Mom, do you need anything, or do we have enough of this or that? But I think where we fail a lot of times today is that we really, if we're not careful, we talk down to our youth and our young adults. Or we either don't make them do some things that they should be doing. Teaching them good work ethics. Growing up, everybody I knew worked. You didn't have, well, let me put it this way. When we lived where we lived at when I was a child, my daddy, I told y'all before, looked out in the yard and he saw 17 kids in the yard one day. And he said, he says, Isadora, my mother's name, he said, Dora, we got to get out of here. He said, that many kids out in the yard at that age, because that was around 13 for me, 14 years old. He said, we ain't never going to get our kids to be workers if they stay in this neighborhood where all these kids is at. Because all these kids, their parents just let them do whatever, And Dad moved us off out in the country to a place there was nobody around us. And at that point, I got my driver's license at 15, and because I worked in the pickle fields, Daddy cleared me off a piece of property on the land that he bought, and I actually planted my own pickles. And Dad gave me an old truck, and I rebuilt the motor in it. And I would drive that truck to town and take the pickles to the pickle factory and sell pickles. And 15 years old, I was, you might say, working my own business. I was signing contracts with that company to pick pickles and grow pickles for them. And by doing that, my parents did not have to financially fund things for me. I filled in a gap. Kids of the earlier years, Depression era, pre-Depression era, they would milk from dairies, and sometimes no money changed hands. There's times that these people would pay them in milk, and they would bring it home, and the mama would take the cream off of it, and she would make butter and cheese, and that way they had stuff for the family. I mean, kids, just because they were children, did not mean that they didn't play a vital role in the family. They filled in the gaps in the family. If Dad was off at a factory working, or off at a logging camp or something, and Mom was at home with the kids by herself, if they had a need for something, a lot of times the children filled in the gaps. There's been many times that as a child, I would have to go out and hoe the field that my dad planted because he was at work. I would go out and hoe it, and then once I got it all hoed, maybe one morning Mom would get me up, and she would be up, and maybe my sister, my brothers, and we would go to the field, and we would pick everything that needed picking, and we just transport it back to the house, and then we spent the rest of the day shelling. And kids were shelling peas and beans and things. My sister cutting up squash and doing things like that. And guys, kids were filling in the gap for the food system. And it disturbs me today to know that as I look around, there's lots of kids that all they do is sit here with the little thing in their hands, and they don't really know what's going on out in the world, per se. There's a disconnect between them and where everything comes from, and it's really not their fault. As parents, a lot of times we drop the ball. And as a result, we've become a nation that is dependent upon the government. And I think it would do us good to go back and to say, a lot of us, and look, I'm no different. I did the same exact thing. I said, I don't want my kids to have to go through everything that I went through, but looking back and remembering when, I didn't turn out too bad. So, I don't know why I thought that my kids shouldn't have to do what I did, or what my parents done, or what my grandparents done. Because the truth of the matter is they all survived. They all managed to keep their families fed. Now they might not have had the best, and they might not have went on massive vacations and all this kind of stuff all the time. They bought expensive things, but we all survived, and we all got along well. When Christmas came around, we had Christmas. The family was a unit. We sat at the tables and we ate at the table. We wasn't all sitting around with furniture and plates in our hands everywhere watching a TV or something like that. We sat down at the table. The table was set for us. And the older I get, the more I look back and I remember when things used to be a certain way. I remember sitting at the table. I remember Dad would be the first one to serve himself, and then we would pass stuff clockwise around the table. And now our table wasn't per se set perfect with saucers and forks and spoons and knives and napkins and all that stuff. We just had a plate with fork and spoon. If we needed a knife, Mama had one there. But I married a lady that her family was very oriented in that area, and it really was a blessing to me to see how a family set up that way. Her mother would set the table, and there would be the bowls and the knives and the forks and the soup spoons, and everything was laid out in a pattern, and there was napkins and all this kind of stuff. And that was something I wasn't used to. Even though I was used to eating at the table, I wasn't used to eating in that manner. And that was a portion of my life I really cherished a lot, because I learned a lot during that time. I guess you might say I kind of grew up some and got out of the type of life that I lived. And yes, I have a rain frog sitting here stealing the show on Porch Time as usual, because it's just a steady raining out here. But guys, we need to work with the younger generation. We need to educate them on how to fill in the gaps. Now, yes, times are different now. We don't have all the big farms, and kids don't go out and milk all the time. All of our milk comes from big dairies now, and unless you have a homestead and you're raising your kids to be able to survive on a homestead, then that's great that they learn these skills, because it's a skill that at some point may save their life. Animal husbandry is something that kids used to learn at a very young age. I can well remember at 8, 9, 10 years old having 200 chickens that we had to take care of, and we was involved in the forage and the FFA and all these different things, and we had chickens and we had pigs and fruit trees and gardens and all these types of things. We would prepare stuff and have stuff for the fair when it came around in October to display. We, to win ribbons. There's different kinds of things like that. As kids, we were encouraged to do these things, and today I just don't see that. I mean, I know here on YouTube we call ourselves a homesteading community, but I look out and I see some homesteading channels really letting their kids, do a lot of the work, but I'm saddened a lot because of some of the things I see. I don't see a lot of kids actively being involved in the gardens like they used to be. Now it's more about how pretty the garden can be, or or how efficient it can be, or something like that. Now, that's one thing I really will say this. I admire about Melissa from Full House Homestead, Mama, is that when they showed them the other day picking peas and stuff, look, Ben had all the family out there. Everybody was picking peas. When it comes to planting, Melissa had them all out there. They were her and Ben, the kids, all were out there planting. And that's an encouragement when you see things like that. I'm really encouraged by things like that. Those kids will grow up to know how to do stuff. Gossmania, when they came here to help us when we were digging our potatoes, all their kids was in the field, digging, hunting potatoes in the dirt. They were doing all these kind of things. That's really good education for those kids. I mean, Amanda with Sunshine, she has Sunshine out all the time, planting. We bought her own tools the other day for her to get out and work in the dirt and be able to learn about the soil and how to put seeds in the ground and things like that. Because this is the next generation coming on. And if these kids don't learn how to do things, then this thing that we call homesteading is going to gradually fade away, even as the older ones, pass away. Now, we have a lot of younger generation coming up behind us that I'm really encouraged by, that's doing a lot of off-grid stuff. I don't actually know that I know the exact reason why so many of them are doing off-grid. I would like to think it's because they love that lifestyle, but I have a sneaky suspicion that a lot of it just simply has to do with what you can and can't afford nowadays, because most of them have smaller homes and they're doing the off-grid thing, which I think is wonderful. I think that it's a really good thing, because it teaches them that they don't have to survive and depend on somebody providing something for them. They're learning the skills of actually surviving without the power company and without modern conveniences the way that we have them as adults today, or we have grown up in this country being accustomed to. The sad part is there's lots of places in the United States that's fixing it where you can't live off-grid. I know in the county I live in, I talk about this on Patreon, it's illegal here to live full-time off-grid unless you have some form of electricity. And there's one stipulation that causes that to happen in the codes. It says that you must have a smoke detector in the house, and it must be hooked up with battery and electric. And that one clause makes it illegal to live full-time off-grid without some sort of a battery backup, a solar system, something. You got to have that if you're going to live off-grid in the county that I live in here in Mississippi. It's sad to me. I know they do it they have a legitimate reason for doing it, for safety purposes and all that, but my thought is if you buy a piece of property and you pay for a piece of property, then you should be able to do what you want to do on that piece of property. And I remember when I moved across the road over here close to 30 years ago, there were no rules. I could do anything I wanted to do. I didn't have to tell anybody about anything I built. It was a wonderful life during that time. And it's sad today to think about how you have to have permits and you have to have, everybody's got to be notified about everything that you're doing. And the fact that kids are not allowed to work like they used to. When I was a child, my dad was a child, my granddad was a child, kids loaded watermelons to sell for money. They cut hay, they loaded bales of hay, they forked up hay, put it in wagons to go to the barns. They cleaned stalls, they worked at the local grocery stores, they mowed yards, they sold eggs, they done all kinds of things. Kids did lots of stuff. And today the law will not permit you to hire someone until they become a specific age. And that has caused the demise of a lot of our young people today. There's so many young people out there that have good work ethic and that want to work, that it's sad that they can't because they won't allow them to. And that's the time that they need to be learning work skills. Not after you get out of college. You need to learn them while you're a small child, or that they're ingrained in you, and you have those skills so that by the time you do decide what you want to be in life, the work ethics is already there. One thing I admire about Amanda's daughter, Sunshine, is she's always coming through the house and she says, I need a job. I need something to do. And a lot of times I'll put her to, if we're canning and we have onions in the floor, she can bring onions to us, or we bring buckets of food in out of the garden, she can separate the tomatoes out and put them on the trays and things like that, because that's what she loves doing, and that's good work ethics. That's what you want to do with a child. You want to give them something to do while they're doing it. Now, granted, there's things that they can't do. If you've got boiling water in the kitchen and hot stuff going on in the kitchen, you don't want them under your feet because something could spill on and burn them and scald them, or you don't want to put them with sharp knives at that age or something like that. But there are jobs that they can do, and when it is, then let them do it. And there's times and places for everything. By the time I was 12 years old, I could run the farm tractor, I could drive. There's lots of things that I could do because I had to do it when I was a certain age. And life wasn't always about birthday parties and playing with the kids down the road or going to the malls or anything like that. You worked to fill in the gaps. And that's what Porch Time is about today, guys. It's about our younger generation coming up, allowing them to fill in the gaps, because I think a lot of times they're deprived of that. And it's going to cause our country to become dependent upon a system rather than having good work ethic. So we got to see some weather coming. Looks like it's fixing to get kind of rough here in a few minutes. I don't want my camera to be out here in this moisture too much. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to say, guys, work with your kids. Teach them some good work ethics. And if you already have kids who have good work ethics, then build on them. Encourage them. Look and see where their strengths are at. And see where their weaknesses are. And wherever they're strong at, build on that. Wherever they're weak at, help them to understand why they're weak there. And you will create a child that will take care of themselves. You won't have to raise them. They will be able to raise themselves once they get to be adults, and they'll be able to make wise decisions. And they'll be able to not hang on mom and daddy's shirt tail their whole life. They'll be able to go out into this world, and they'll be able to make a difference. So, guys, thank you for watching Porch Time today. I really appreciate you. If you want to know more about what I talk about other than Porch Time, then go over to Patreon and check us out over there. I have lots of videos over there that I go a little bit more in depth than I do here on Porch Time. And then we have some funny things over there that's just humor. Our cabin build is over there. There's lots of things that's over on Patreon that I think a lot of people that's over there are really enjoying. They leave lots of positive comments, and I try to correspond back and forth with as many people as I can. And we've created a community over there as well of people who are like-minded and who share the same things in life and who are wanting to learn things that we can't talk about here on YouTube freely. So if you want to know more, check out Patreon. If you're looking to purchase from us, we do have lots of things on our Etsy store, seeds and all kinds of different things that we sell here that's acclimated to the Deep South. You can go check that out at deepsouthhomestead.etsy.com. You can check that out there. We have shirts and mugs and different things like that up on our, it should be somewhere on this video here. You should see it. It's called Teespring. You should be able to see there's, we have hoodies that have our quotes on them, like an LCE, a life-changing event that I came up with years ago, started using instead of the SHTL. And then we have some shirts that we're in the making of, trying to get some logos on them. We have coffee mugs, Deepsouth Homestead coffee mugs, different things like that. If you're interested in that, it should be here in this video somewhere around the edges of it. You should be able to see it, or in the description down below. So guys, anytime you purchase anything like that, it helps us to continue to keep our channel going. It's because the equipment is so expensive to make these videos, and the cards, and the external hard drives, and the camera systems, the lighting, all this kind of stuff really runs up into a lot of money. And it just, all it does is just helps us to keep doing what we do for you all. And in return, we get a blessing back. When you all comment to us, I sit down lots of times, I read every comment, always. I may not always get a chance to respond to all of them, but I do read them. And my heart is blessed many times by lots of the comments and the stories that people share with us here at Deepsouth Homestead. So, guys, gotta get to work. We're building things for the cabin, so we're in the shop today while it's raining. So we're going to jump off of here and say we appreciate you. Come back and check us out on our other videos, and we will see you in the next video. Talk to you guys later. Thank you from Deepsouth Homestead.